Welcome to Globalers Community Chat. Today our guest is Yunus Bulut. I'm very happy to have you here today, Yunus. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great to hear. So before we get into the topic, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. I am an AI researcher and practitioner. So I am working as a researcher, trustworthy AI researcher at Cultural Institute of Technology, KIT. And I am also the co-founder of Validator, where we develop quality assurance solutions for artificial intelligence.
Sounds very interesting. Also a very popular topic nowadays, AI. So then let's get into it. So as you know, like AI is continuing to excite people. It's very accelerated with its innovations everywhere. Everybody's hearing about many aspects like ChatGPT and everything. But do you think AI is something that we can rely on as of it is now?
Yeah, the short answer is no. You can think about it as humans, okay? So can you trust humans? In order to trust humans, you need to have some procedures or some rules which kind of produces that trust, okay? We call it love at the moment. The AI is the same. Yeah, it has tremendous successes in many different fields nowadays, but it has its own vulnerabilities and problems. For example, the AI systems, AI models are susceptible to adversarial attacks, which means that hackers can easily manipulate AI systems, actually. And the AI systems trained on private and sensitive data, and they can leak that private information during their inference time, which can easily violate the privacy of the people. And as we all know now, AI can be quite discriminatory and biased in its decision making. And maybe one last thing I can mention about the black box nature of the current AI systems. So they come up with some predictions, with some outcomes, but unfortunately, most of the time we don't have a good understanding of how and why those systems come up with those specific outcomes. So they are black box systems. So these vulnerabilities actually quite prevalent in all types of AI. And in order to trust them, in order to kind of rely on them, we need some good risk and quality management measures in place, so that which means in a nutshell, trustworthy and responsible AI systems.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that as well. So hearing, of course, of these problems and risk associated with AI, I understand that we need to look for some solutions. So what would be some appropriate measurements to mitigate these risks and problems? If you could give some examples.
Yeah, the first thing is you should accept the risks. I mean, the first thing is the acceptance of the existence of those risks. And then what we can do is we can contain those risks. We can kind of mitigate those risks with the help of the humans in the loop. So, I mean, considering the current state of the art, AI literature, we know a lot of kind of problems associated with AI. We know some methods on how to evaluate the risks associated with those systems. But for many of those problems, we don't have a perfect solution or defense mechanisms. So what we need to do is we kind of need to set up a good AI risk management framework in place. And we need to set up the processes, procedures associated with that risk management. And we should try to contain those risks in our systems after evaluating them, of course. And then comes the mitigation of those risks, which might and which should include human in the loops if necessary.
Thank you for sharing that as well. So as far as I know, the European Commission's AI regulation is coming to a close. So what does this exactly imply for the companies that are interested in using AI or are currently using AI?
Yeah, the European Commission has recently proposed a regulation on AI, and it is expected to be approved at the end of this year or in the beginning of next year, and it will be put in place in 2 or 3 years after its acceptance. So it is a major event actually in the AI space because so far AI is mostly unregulated, I would say. Of course, there are some kind of segmented regulations or laws in some industries, in some specific use cases, but so far there exists no a holistic regulation effort in AI. So in that respect, it will have huge huge effect on the on how we do AI today. So the major thing will be that we will kind of make ourselves familiar with classifying AI according to the risk levels. So basically, the high risk AI systems will be in order to put them into the production in real use, they need to be evaluated, audited by a well-defined system, and in some cases by external parties. So this means that we should put the quality assurance of the AI systems in our MLOps in a more kind of comprehensive way. So nowadays, many practitioners just test their AI systems with respect to their performance. How good it is on classifying a specific category or predicting, for example, stock prices, etc. And we usually don't test those systems regarding their safety and security levels, their fairness levels, so how biased they are and how private they are, etc. So the regulations, the AI regulations, call for a more comprehensive and well-defined AI quality assurance to be put in place. So the major thing that we will change in the way we are doing AI is to integrate those quality assurance components, like testing AI systems before putting them in production and monitoring them closely during production and fall back to human in the loops if necessary. So these parts, these 3 components will need to be integrated in our regular MLOps pipeline. So that will be the major effect of the AI regulations.
Thank you for sharing that as well. So I want to have like a following up question on this. So obviously it is a huge thing to have regulations around AI, but I am wondering if these regulations will have any effect also on the innovation capacity of businesses, because I know that especially in some industries, essentially classifications can make something illegal, to even like work on, for example.
Yeah, this is a very valid concern. So actually, I mean, we are not, we know regulations, right, from different areas, from different sectors, use cases, etc., for different technologies. So in every regulation, the one major concern is whether those regulations will have a deteriorating effect on the innovative capacity of the companies, especially the SMEs. And this is also the case for AI regulations. I mean, there is that risk, in my opinion, that these regulations might put an additional burden on the development capacities of the SMEs for the AI systems. But I believe that most of those disadvantages are really associated with short-term, in short-term horizon. I mean, we know that if we can put a good quality measurements processes in place, it benefits every type of company in the long run. So it avoids wasting their efforts in producing defects, services, or products. So at the first glance, it can put kind of a burden, especially on SMEs. Yes, that's right. But in the long term, I believe it will foster innovation on developing more trustworthy, more responsible AI solutions and AI technologies. So in order to kind of get that benefit or get that long-term benefit from these regulations is to take what these regulations imply very seriously and adapt our artificial intelligence development processes according to these regulations. And it means that specifically a good quality assurance practices or best practices should be put in place. Some additional infrastructure should be developed or used. I mean, if we can do this, then I believe that in the long run, the AI regulations will benefit to the society as well as to the SMEs as well. If you consider the reputational risks about coming up with defect products or services, so this regulation gives incentives in terms of developing more well-tested, more quality services and products based on AI.
Thank you for sharing that as well. Since we are running out of our time, I want to finish with one last question, and that would be, if you could explain in one sentence, what would be your takeaway point or like the one summary from this conversation?
Okay, AI is great, but we can make it better by taking into account a more broad or a broader set of evaluation criteria. So that would be the main takeaway. And those evaluation criteria are not just about performance, but about security, safety, fairness, etc.
Thank you for sharing that as well. And so with that, we have run out of our time. So Yunus, I want to thank you so much once again for joining us today and sharing your thoughts on AI regulations, the upcoming things. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again.
Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye-bye.